Hello. Welcome to BigTalk. I'm your host, Aben here, and today our special guest is going to be a pretty interesting guy by the name of Marquise.
What's up, Aben?
I got my friend Christian here as well to assist me in this interview.
What's up, guys?
Marquise is a gamer. If I'm not mistaken, he plays 2K professionally. Tell me a little bit about that.
I don't want to put professional on it just yet, but pretty professional. Like, not professional, but competitively. Trying to get to professional.
I mean, break that down for me, because, some people...
So, professional would be like the 2K League and getting paid for it. Competitively is playing in tournaments against people that are in the 2K League because they have to compete to, or they want to earn money and stuff like that when they're off.
So it's like practice for them, off-season.
Practice for them, off-season.
Okay, that makes sense. But that's different than just casually playing 2K.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. You got to pay to get in.
How much?
Pay to get in. $20 per person. So.
Oh, that's not bad.
It's not bad, but there's a lot of leagues.
Fortnite, you still playing Fortnite?
Every now and then, just a little bit. Sometimes, playing competitively, you're going to need a little break for your mind, at least.
Because I knew you got into 2K originally because, you like the game, you like basketball, and it was very it was just a cool game to play. You feel like it's gotten sorted to the point of it being more work than it is play?
I could see where somebody could find it more like work than fun, but it's always fun. Even when it's stressful, I still find it fun. Even when I lose.
Word.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, the practice and all that, you don't ever be like, oh, I don't feel like practicing today, or I don't want to do it. It's always fun.
It's always fun, yeah. Practice is fun. Watching film is fun to me.
Why?
I just love it. It's basketball. I love getting better. I like seeing progression.
So I was looking up some stuff the other day, kind of on the science of video games. And there was a scientist named Richard Bartle. He created he's like one of the main founders of MMORPG games. And he created this thing called the Bartle test. And his theory is that every person who plays video games falls into 4 character traits. That's the achieve type character, the exploring type character, the socializing type character, and then the killer, right? Every person's video game style, which will determine the types of games they like, the types of games they don't like, how often they play games, etc., is going to be based upon their level of how much they fall into one of these categories. It's kind of a mixture of all 4. So let's say for the achievement category, it's people who like achievement, people who like earning badges and earning upgrades for their weapons, things like that, right? They like to check off tasks, get things done. The explorer type character is someone, let's say, that would play like Skyrim. They like, they like an open world style game. They like exploring new places, finding out hacks and cheat codes in the game, finding out glitches in the game. These are those types of people. The socializer is someone who finds more happiness in the game when they're able to interact with people. So they like getting on game chat. They like interacting with the AI. They like a couple years ago in Minecraft, they were adding in like a bunch of AI sound, and people were going in and talking to the AI and making them say weird things, copying their voices. That's that socializer type character. Like, they don't really play games by themselves. It's more of a social thing. That's what their love in the game comes from, that social nature. And then you have the killer profile. That's more so people who like competition. They like beating someone. They like besting someone. They like to know that their efforts made them the winner, right? They believe that there's a winner and a loser. And again, the type of gamer you are all depends on how much of each category you have. So I'm making up numbers here, but let's say if you had a scale of 0 to 100 in each category, maybe you're 50 in achieve, a 60 in killer, a 20 in socialize, and an 80 in explorer, right? That's your game style. And I think a lot of video game companies have adapted the Bartle model, and I think most video games are created based on that, or you can find relation of the Bartle model in that. So you're just saying that now, like, kind of points out the science of this. You're saying like, oh yeah, I like to achieve, and I like to get better. I like to see progression, things like that. Seems like you fall more into the achieve category versus let's say, playing a game like Fortnite, that would be more in the killer category. Versus someone who would like to, let's say, just explore. That's also inside of Fortnite. People who like to achieve, you got the challenges. Like that's what that's for. Do you see how that one game can just have all of those different qualities in it? Because the more of these qualities you encompass in your game, the more people you can have play it. Like you're not so specific to it. So it's crazy how that science, I think this was in like the 1960s or something, this guy came out with this, or 1980s, whatever. And still in 2020, the model still exists. Right? It makes perfect sense. It's pretty crazy.
I mean, you did say you feel like he's an achiever, but if you really think about it, if you're trying to go competitive, he's more like a killer. He has to best everyone.
Well, again, everybody's a mix of all four, right?
Yeah.
Right. The socializing nature of, let's say, 2K is more so like you're being on a team. You got to cooperate. You're probably cracking jokes with your friends. You know what I mean? You're streaming, things like that. The killer nature comes from you having to beat another team, right? And again, back to social nature, it's a 2K, if I'm not mistaken, when you're playing in a league or you're practicing with whatever people, you're playing 3 versus 3, 4 versus 4, team versus team. It's not just you. It's a whole team involved in winning a game. So there has to be some sort of social nature there. And the achieve, boom, you fall into that category as well. I don't know about the explorer nature, because I don't know if you can just wander around in the 2K world and figure out new stuff. I don't know. But
I'm not an explorer type.
No, you're not this word. I'm not either. Because if you're not an explorer type, what ends up happening is if you make a game where there's too much exploration, or for people who are not the explorer type, what happens is there's too much to do and there's too little direction. And since there's too little directions, like let's say an open sandbox game like Minecraft, right? A person like me, I can get very bored in Minecraft very easily. Very, very quickly. And it's because there's no instructions, there's no directions. It's just open sandbox, discover, explore, do what you want. But since there are no instructions and nothing to really keep me in line and point me towards something, I get bored in it really quickly. Because I'm not the explorer type. Versus someone who can just sit there and like build crazy stuff and fight zombies and do all kinds of sorts of stuff all day long on this game. They have to be an explorer type. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
I would get bored super quick.
You don't want to find them diamonds?
I don't want to. I don't want to find them diamonds. This stuff. But yeah, he also talked about. There was another scientist. I think he was a German guy who was talking about the different types of games, and he developed this thing that he liked to call vertigo, and it's kind of like getting in the zone. If you had to put a word on getting in the zone, right? Because that sounds a bit informal. He called it vertigo. It's a state of complete concentration and complete focus. Your one movement is lined up with the next movement. There's no gap in the two. There's really even no thinking involved. It's kind of like your primitive brain turns on and it just controls the controller for you. You know what I mean? Like you're staring at the screen. You don't hear anything. You don't see anything but the game. Time flies. Things of that nature. Kind of being in the zone. He calls that vertigo. And you usually find that in more killer style players, because that's, a play style for killer style players. How much would you say that you find vertigo in 2K?
A lot. I'm always in vertigo. Like you have to be locked in. You got to know. For example, like it's 5 other players on the court, but let's say I'm running a pick and roll with my center. It's not just me and him. It's not just the 2 defenders in front of us. The other defenders could do something as well. So I have to be wary of what they might do as well. So it's a lot of thinking involved. And yeah, it's at the same time, I'm not thinking. It's just going through the motions. I know this person's going to do this, so I just automatically throw the pass.
Yeah, you react. But how would you say that? How does that not get boring? Like in terms of if you're in the zone and you're locked in and you're having to do all this thinking, and how does that not get boring for you? How does that not get like less fun? Or is the nature of being challenged mentally fun for you?
I would say, yeah, being challenged is fun. Not only that, I want to achieve the things I want to achieve in 2K. It's just fun, period. And the game of basketball to me is fun. So,
but what are the things you want to achieve?
Making it to the 2K League.
Okay. Is there a specific team you want to be on? Like, how's that work?
I don't want to make it to a specific team. It doesn't really matter. The 2K League, I would say, is way different than any other game. Like Fortnite. You could get in with solos. You playing by yourself. Me personally, I don't like playing by myself. I find it very boring.
Yep.
So do fall in the social category. And with 2K, you kind of have to have connections. You have to have the right type of connections.
You mean like know a person that knows a person kind of thing? Or?
You got to know the right people. So there's this guy in the 2K League. His name's Bear the Beast. Pretty sure he's been in there since season 1. And if he sees you play and he likes the way that you play, he can tell you to come play with him. And you having that connection, other 2K League players might respect you because you're playing with him. So they might give you a chance as well. So without those connections, you might not even make it to the 2K League.
But can you make it to 2K League? I mean, what kind of connections would you say you have?
Well, right now I have an assistant coach that is the assistant coach for Mavericks Gaming, the professional team. And he's the coach of my team, and I play for him. So that's one connection right there. And another connection I have is, I guess, the center on my team. He used to be in the 2K League.
What happened?
Well, if you don't perform well, they only get to keep 3 players after every season.
Okay.
So if you're not performing better than the other 3 players, or they might not even hold all 3 if their team didn't do that successful that season. So yeah, he just didn't get retained.
So there's per 2K team, professional 2K team, there's only 5 players.
No, I think there's 6.
6. Okay.
They got a bench player.
Okay. So 5 players on one bench. Kind of.
Mm-hmm. Because, emergencies come up. You never know.
And how many teams are there? I mean, estimate. 50.
Maybe like 20.
20?
25, maybe. I don't know.
So we're talking about, I would assume, millions of people competing to play 2K. And we're talking about, 120. How many would you say are trying to get into the league?
Trying to get into the league, maybe 5,000, if that.
Really? So it's not a big loophole?
It's not a big pool.
Oh, okay.
Very doable.
But still, 5,000 people trying to get in, it sounds like, what, maximum 120 slots?
Well, 300 to get into the draft pool, maybe like 250 to get drafted, or maybe 200 to get drafted.
200 people to get drafted.
And they're adding teams every year. So far, I think they added a team every year or 2.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you're saying like every basketball team doesn't have their own?
Yeah, every basketball team doesn't have their 2K team. 2K team.
Okay, but they're getting to that.
They're getting to that.
That makes more sense because I'm thinking in my head like, for a lot of people to be trying to get into this. Let's say you had 1,000 people and you have 10 slots. Like that's very, 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 very competitive. But
I really thought there'd be a bigger community. To be honest, it's a huge game.
Yeah, that's why I would say. That's why I estimated millions. I'm like, there's a lot of people that, like, there was one point where 2K was, and maybe it was because it came out, and I don't know much about 2K, but there was a point for, like, I swear, almost a month, 2K was, like, the number 1 game in the Xbox store.
Dude, people were betting, like, making money against each other.
Yeah, it was, like, the number 1 game for, like, a month. I remember every time I logged in to, like, check on something, it was number 1, state number 1. It was ahead of Call of Duty. It was ahead of Fortnite for, like, a month. And I was really surprised because Fortnite was number 1 for a long time. And then the new Warzone came out and that took over, whatever. But I remember 2K was like number 1 for a long time. I was like, dang, bro, there must be a whole lot of people playing that game.
There's 2 different ways to play 2K. So you can control the whole team, and then you are one player within 5 different players. So a lot of people like to control the whole team as just a casual. So that's probably where they got popular.
Versus playing competitively.
Like a lot of people, it's just connections. So if you don't have the right connections, you could be playing with people that aren't that good and they can make you look bad. So a lot of people give up too.
I mean, how would you say you developed that connection, right? Because you said you have this assistant coach. So how did you get that? How did you land that?
There's different types of leagues. So there's like draft leagues. One of these draft leagues, I played in a random draft league. It wasn't a good draft league, wasn't a known draft league. And I got an MVP and a finals MVP, and I won a championship all in one season. So that gave me a little bit of recognition. I can show people, like, look, I can do something.
Yeah.
You can start with something here.
For sure.
And then I started playing with, more competitive players, and then started putting up numbers against good players, known players. I got some screenshots where we won against some players that they think are better than me or whatever. So I just showed the coach, and he's like, "Oh, okay, let me try you out." And then I tried out. I did good, so pick me out.
So it's sheer, commitment to the game, commitment to improvement that got you the connection. So when you really think about it, it's like you don't necessarily need the connection. I think what's most important you need is that commitment. Right?
Well, what I heard was one of the only ways to get to the 2K League is to be in what they call the uppers of the 2K community. The uppers is usually people in the 2K League or people that the uppers respect. And now they'll allow them to play, and we call this like a tens lobby where 10 people get into one Xbox party, and you'll have two of every position, and you'll have the 2 point guards pick teams. It doesn't matter who they pick, you just pick whoever you want, and then you play against each other and compete against each other. And the uppers is people that are usually in the 2K League or are at that level. So that's a lot of, one, it's good practice, and then two, you're connecting with all these people, and if you're doing well, they're going to want to pick you up. They're going to want you on their team.
Yeah, they can kind of recommend you to the coach. Like, hey,
mm-hmm.
if somebody's already in the league, they can be like, hey, coach, check out this guy.
Exactly. They have that type of power. Like, oh, I want this player.
Yeah.
I want to hoop with him.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't think that they would.
I think it sucks, but...
Why? Because you think people pick favorites?
Favorites.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's tough right there.
Mm-hmm. It's whatever. You got to do what you got to do.
So earlier we talked about having those connections, and I don't think that the connections are connections with people and like the higher ups are really what you need to be successful in 2K. Again, speaking from, great opinion here. I don't know anything about 2K, but it sounds like what you really need is a commitment to the game and a commitment to progression. I think that's centrally what you're saying to be successful in this game. You need that commitment.
Oh, definitely.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap things up for this episode. I wanted to inform all the listeners out there that this interview is split into multiple sections. So be sure to check out all the other episodes to get the full experience of the interview as we explore other topics. As always, this is BigTalk. Thank you for listening.